Hello, my name is Nell and I have things to say. Being disabled tends to put a lot of hiccups in what for most people are pretty standard things. It's like for most people you go from point A to point B and it's a straight line. And for me, it's like there's a roller coaster loop-de-loop and then 500 speed humps and then potholes and then rainstorms just to get to the same point. And I try my best to plan ahead, to expect anything, to plan for any eventuality, to make sure my needs are known so that my needs can be met. But even with all of that trying and planning, sometimes things just don't go right and I get really, really annoyed. So last week I had my procedure at hospital to get my IUD inserted, and in my pre-admission clinic a month ago, we'd been talking about my personal details, and I said I only have an estimation for my weight. I can't stand on scales, so I can only get weighed when I have access to a particular thing, like a weigh chair. And I said to this nurse, can I be weighed here? And she said, oh, yeah, we've got facilities for wheelchairs. She said, you can weight bear, right? And I said, no. So weight bearing means that you can stand on your own 2 feet and fully bear the weight of your entire body without any other assistance, without leaning on anyone or anything, without anyone holding you up. I can't do that. I can stay on my feet for a couple of seconds if I'm next to a wall with a railing, but I can't do it without that. So I said, no, I can't weight bear. And she said, oh, okay, well, yeah, no, we don't have anything. So I said, okay, you're a hospital and you don't have any way of weighing immobile, wheelchair-bound people. She said, no, sorry. And then she said, oh, wait, we do have a way. We have a scale where you can drive on it with your wheelchair, and then we just take off the weight of your wheelchair, and then we're left with your weight. And I said, how am I supposed to have my wheelchair weighed? We don't know the weight of our wheelchair, because a lot of wheelchairs are customized. It's not like you get a product number that has the weight there, because every wheelchair, it then has a different back support, a different seat support, different wheels, different functions, different little bits and bobs. There is no way of knowing exactly how much a wheelchair weighs. And if they want to weigh my wheelchair, then who's going to drive it onto the weigh station? And then where am I going to be while that happens? So I said, no, it's not really doable. She said, where have you been weighed before? And I told her that at my local nursing home, they have a weighing chair. It's basically a wheelchair, or it looks a bit like a shower chair, but the arms come away, so I can park alongside it, the arms come away, I slide across, we weigh me, and then I slide back into my wheelchair. I said, don't you guys have anything like that? It's pretty basic standard equipment. And she said, no. So I said, you have facilities for disabled people, but only disabled people who can weight. Yeah. So she went off to talk to some people. I saw her talking very animatedly with some other people and sending people off on errands. And then they came back about 10 minutes later and they said, look, we don't have any facilities to weigh you here, but on the day of your surgery, you will be weighed in a sling weigh. That will be available to you before surgery. So we'll be fine. We will weigh you in a sling weigh. And I said, okay, I can try and go to the nursing home and get weighed there if you want. No, we will weigh you in a sling weigh on the day. Absolutely. I said, okay, we'll do that. So I get to the day of surgery and I was talking to the pre-op nurse and she said, why, we've got a question mark next to your weight. What's going on there? And I said, they didn't have any facilities to weigh me at pre-admission. So I can only offer an estimate, and I was told that I would be weighed in a sling weigh on the day of surgery. And her reaction was just to go, did they say that? Yes. So we don't have a sling weigh here. She said, we have a weighing chair. Can you weight bear? No, I'm very sorry. Sorry for the inconvenience. I can't weight bear. So she scuttled up to talk to some people and came back about 5 minutes later and said, look, we're going to go by the estimate. because we have no way of weighing you here unless you can weight bear. So they were doing general anesthetic with the estimation of my weight. I was so frustrated. Number one, because they didn't have facilities for me. I cannot be the only disabled person who comes through those doors needing to be weighed. And I cannot be the only disabled person that comes through those doors needing to be weighed who also cannot weight bear. If you are going to cater for disabilities, you cannot have an exclusionary section of that. You can't say, we cater for everyone with disabilities unless you're in this category. And honestly, plenty of people in wheelchairs cannot weight bear. That's not an unusual thing. That is not rare. It's very common that many of us, our legs don't work, that's why we're in a wheelchair. For many of us, our legs barely work at all. You need to cater for that if you're going to offer that service. But I was also annoyed at the fact that I felt inconvenient. I was apologizing so many times for not being able to weight bear. I know it's not my fault that I can't weight bear, and it's not my fault that they can't cater to me. But when they said, can you weight bear? And I would say no, and they go, oh. And I'd find myself saying, really sorry. Really sorry for being disabled. I know it's ruining your day. But then when I offered to sort it out, I said, I can do this. I can go off and I can get weighed, and then I can have an exact weight for you if you need me to. No, we'll have it covered. So I could have sorted the problem out, but then there wasn't any communication between any of the teams. They knew I was going to day surgery, and they said, you will have a slingway available. And then this person in day surgery said, no, we've never had a slingway available here. I cannot be the first person who has these special needs. So why was everyone so surprised? We have a huge, I mean not huge, but we have a very high percentage of disabled people in this community. In most areas, I think it's about 10% of the population has significant disabilities. In our area, it's 15% or over. I cannot be the first. I cannot be the only one. And yet they were so unprepared. It was like I was saying, I was going to a restaurant and I said like, oh, I have an allergy to salt. Like something really, really bizarre that would really upset everything and that they'd never seen before. It's like, no, I'm a regular garden variety disabled person who cannot use my legs. It's not that weird. So it was so frustrating. And I still don't know how much I weigh. I have my estimate, but I was really looking forward to, knowing how much I weigh. It's just nice to know. I make plans as much as I can. I make my needs known as much as I can, and so many times I come up against these walls of going, well, we'd be able to help you if you were a little different. We'd be able to help you if you were a little less disabled. I don't like needing special treatment. I don't. But there are some places where I expect to have my needs met. And then when I don't, I get mad. I get upset. And it could have been avoided. Thankfully, I was in and out of anesthetic and I was fine. But it's just mad. I'm not that bizarre. I'm not that uncommon. I mean, I am a special, rare flower, but my disability situation is not uncommon. And yet the entire hospital had no way of weighing me on 2 occasions where I was there. And yet my local nursing home is fine. They can handle it. Oh boy. That's all for today. That's just me venting my annoyance. Couldn't believe it. Couldn't believe it. The hospital couldn't weigh me because I couldn't weight bear. What do they do with people who are in between surgeries who, because of surgeries or because of illness in hospital, they can't weight bear? Like, how do they? I don't know. I do not know the logic. Maybe I don't know the logic because it's not there. Alright. That's all. That's all from me. Bye. Bless.